Thanks, everybody. My name's Tony Schultz. I'm a farm boy from Athens, Wisconsin. Here to protest the governor's budget union-busting bill, which is an example of this word that's been going around called austerity. Austerity. I like to call it class war from the top. That's what that means, austerity. And rural America has been experiencing austerity for a very long time. The populist movement in the late 1800s was born out of a reaction to corporate austerity, and it was a famous orator of the populist movement, Mary Ellen Lease, who said 121 years ago, she said that Wall Street owns the country. It is no longer a country of the people, by the people, for the people. It is a country of Wall Street, by Wall Street, and for Wall Street. And you can tell that this is the situation going on in the Capitol today, because that union-busting bill was not written here. It was written down the street by the Wisconsin Manufacturers and Commerce, and this has become a state of WMC, for WMC, by WMC. But the people have woken up. And in rural America, in rural Wisconsin, we are feeling the effects of austerity. In Wisconsin, it's been going on for more than 70 years in something known as the dairy crisis. The dairy crisis, they call it, or the death of the family farm. And my own experience is that I was born and raised a third-generation family farmer, 50-cow dairy farm from Athens, Wisconsin, like you see on the license plate. And I came home from high school one day from football practice, and I got dressed for chores like I did every night. And I sat down to have dinner with my family, and my father said, "We have to sell our cows." And I didn't understand why we had to do that, because we were getting up at 5:30 every morning to milk the cows. We were working hard. We had a good herd average, but we had to sell the cows. And I was decimated by this, and I didn't understand why. And I became very angry, and there's a lot of anger in rural Wisconsin for the same reason. Many hundreds of farm boys experienced the same thing over the course of the last, especially 20 years. And ironically, at the same time, to pay for college, I had to work a construction job where I was building factory farms in rural Wisconsin. I was pouring concrete to lay slabs for these giant factory farms that are now taking over our state's agricultural industry. And with this picture in front of me, I was forced to ask and answer the question, what kind of agricultural landscape do we want to have? Do we want to have a system where a few people control farms using dangerous chemicals and pesticides to create monocultures, unhealthy food? Or do we want to have small-scale, diversified family farms that have made this state proud, and that is something we put on our license plate? Do we want to have a situation where our food is treated as a commodity and comes from across the country and across the globe? Or do we want to have a situation where food is produced for people by farmers that is nutritionally worthy of being served on our table, and it comes from our local economies and communities? Do we want to have a situation where one person controls 3,000, 5,000 cows and 50 people who are often denied the rights and dignity of citizenship so they can be more easily exploited? Or do we want to have 50 families with 60 cows of their own and have something of their own, an empowering space in an interdependent world? What kind of world do we want to live in? And so in asking and answering those questions for myself, I had become politicized. And that is what's going on right now in the state of Wisconsin. A lot of people are becoming politicized for the better. And it forced me to ask and answer a broader question. What kind of world do we want to live in? What kind of world do we want to live in? not their world. In asking and answering this question, I gained a consciousness that allowed me to understand the word conservative means they want to conserve and enhance power for people who have power. But because of my experience, I sided with a very different political force, a very different movement. I want to side with people who are working together to build and broaden power for people who have been excluded from power, so we can have honest, democratic, and meaningful control over our lives. It is this consciousness that has allowed a farm boy to stand with women who are protesting and working for laws that punish domestic abuse, for laws that want to deny people Planned Parenthood, for laws that want to deny women the right to choose. It is this consciousness that has allowed a farm boy to stand with people of color who are denied a job because of the color of their skin. It is this consciousness that has given a farm boy an environmental ethic. It is this consciousness that has allowed a farm boy to stand with gay and lesbian people who simply want the dignity to be able to marry the people that they love in this world. And it is this consciousness that understands what is going on here today as nothing more than an age-old struggle between the haves who are grabbing power against the have-nots. That's all that this is. And that's that simple. It is this consciousness that has caused a farm boy to stand with labor. Labor is our greatest commonality. Labor is how we are most organized and where we can most effectively mobilize for human dignity. Labor is a woman's issue because it is the power of organized labor that lands equal pay for equal work, for parental leave, for workplace that is free of sexual harassment. Labor is an LGBT person's issue because this is where domestic partnership benefits will be negotiated. Labor is a senior citizens issue because it is labor that brought us pension benefits, that brought us Social Security. Labor is a youth issue because it is labor that brought us laws against child labor and laws and wages that have allowed me to go to college and many others. Labor and the people on the left is what has brought us occupational health and safety. It has brought us health insurance. It is this common struggle. And without labor, we have the nightmare of individual desperation and dependence of a new age of robber barons. But we fought our way out of one Gilded Age, and we're going to do it again. And it's the folks in the labor movement that brought us overtime pay, minimum wage, workplace power, the weekend. And it's the labor movement that brought us the American dream, and we are not looking back. And if they don't recognize the inspiration of people of Wisconsin in the streets, if they don't recognize our demands, if they don't recognize our ideas, they will be forced to recognize it out of our desperation. No politician will steal it. No lie will deceive it. No Fox News report will manipulate it. But this is not a moment of desperation. This is a moment of inspiration. The people are awake. We are active. We are aware of the direction that Scott Walker and the legislature wants to take us, and we are going to turn it around. And I started with a quote from Mary Ellen Lisa. I'm going to finish with a quote. The people are at bay. Let the bloodhounds of money who have dogged us thus far beware. Solidarity.